what's up? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Claire, and if this is your first time here, you picked such a good day to come because I promised you guys that I was going to do more college related videos because when I went to college I had a great time, but I also had some struggles, and so I wanted to make more videos kind of talking about both ends of the spectrum. And today's video is going to be where I give you some study tips and tell you guys how you can make better grades, because if you know me, you know I was smart in high school, okay? I was valedictorian, I was in all honors classes, did really good on my ACT. College, I did really well, okay? I did really well in my classes, but there were some classes that kind of, you know, were a big struggle for me, such as accounting, which I've been super open about on my channel. And so I felt like I owed it to you guys to give you guys some study tips and tell you guys how you can make better grades, because I know especially with college it's very eye-opening and it can be a little bit overwhelming at times, and sometimes you may feel like you just don't know what to do. So today I'm going to be giving you some study tips, and I'm thrilled to say that we have a sponsor for today's video. Today's sponsor is called SolutionN, and they are an online educational portal. They're located in Orlando, Florida, and let me tell you about this site, guys. Y'all, it's amazing. So basically they have two platforms for their users all over the world, and I know I have a lot of subscribers that aren't just in the United States, so if you are in another country you can use this too. So like I said, SolutionN has two platforms, and the first platform is through the tutoring portal. Now the tutoring portal is where users can go, and you can go online and you can start earning by helping students all over the world through the SolutionN website. So if you consider yourself a person that's like really talented in a subject, you can go online and you can help people with that subject and you can earn, okay? Doesn't that sound great? The second platform that SolutionN provides is the student portal, and this is where if you have a question, get this, you can go on there and you can ask it a question about any subject and you'll get an answer, guys. And get this, it's free. So like other websites you see, like you'll like type in your question and then it'll come up with a total amount that you'll have to pay to see the answer. Not with the SolutionN, guys. So you can type in anything. And I wish I would have known about this when I was in school, because this kind of ties into number one of the first point that I'm going to make today, because I had so many questions about accounting. Really though, I will link the information down below on how to get to this website. So if you consider yourself a tutor, go to the tutoring portal, or if you consider yourself a student, you need to go to the student portal, guys, because this is just something that I've never really heard of, something like this to where you can ask any question and get an answer. Like, I just think that is phenomenal. And also, if you consider yourself, again, a tutor, you can help people and you can earn through this website. So go to SolutionN, and it's all down below, guys. Don't you worry. And like I said, that ties in with my first point today. Before I continue with my first point, I wanted to show you one more look. So you go to the trial on SolutionN's website, and then you can log in after you start your free trial. And so you log on in, and you are going to be in for a fun experience once you get into this website, because all your questions will be answered. So it's so easy to ask a question. So really, literally what you do, you just paste your question into the solution library, and look, what do you know? There's an answer for you ready to go. So like, that was just beyond easy. First thing that you need to do if you want to make good grades is don't be afraid to ask for help. Now, if you're like me, I was always so scared to talk to people. I made a video about this last week. I was scared to ask people for help, and Auburn did. I went to Auburn University. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I went to Auburn and I majored in political science and finance, and I was so intimidated by everybody. And they did have tutors in the library that would help you, but they were always really intimidating, and that's honestly, like, promise you guys, I wish I would have known about SolutionN, because you bet yourself that I would have been all over that website asking questions about accounting, because I just did not understand. Once again, guys, so you get the point. So number one, don't be scared to ask people for help, whether it be a friend or your professor, but really try SolutionN, guys. You can get some answers. The second tip that I have for you guys is called Write, Type, Write. And you may be thinking, what does that mean? I'm going to tell you what that means. So my advice for you is to write your notes in class, because when you're writing what the professor says, you will absorb it more into your brain. Now, I get that professors may talk really quickly and, you know, explain full sentences really fast, and you may not be able to write all that down. write down the high points, write down the key words that the professor is saying, and write down everything that they say to write down, and write down everything that they put on the board. If you're typing those things, you're just gonna like pay attention to the words and you're not gonna pay attention to what you're writing, and that's why I feel like you should write your notes in class. Then get this, when it's time for you to study, you need to make a study guide. And to make a study guide, I prefer always to type out the study guide. And I just think that makes it kind of easier, so you can lay it out, you can print it out to where it's like 5 or 10 pages. You write it in class, you'll absorb it a little. You type it out, you'll be like, oh, I remember doing that. And then you write out the study guide. You'll be like, okay, third time's a charm. And what you need to do as you're doing all of these things, take a highlighter and highlight the keywords. And when you're writing it, highlight it in a certain color. When you're typing it, after you print it out, highlight it in a certain color. And when you type it for the last time and you go back over and read it after you write it again, I think I said right, you need to highlight it in that color. That way, that word will stand out to you and you will remember it. So I'm trying to think of even an example. You need to know the capital of Alabama is Montgomery, and it is in the southeast, and it touches the Gulf of Mexico. I would put Alabama in pink, and I would also underline the keywords Gulf of Mexico, southeast, Montgomery, so that way I would remember all of those like 3 points that go with that main word, if that makes sense. So I just think write, type, write, and then also highlight. Number 3 is something that's going to sound really dumb for me to say, but if the professor tells you to read, you need to read. And if you're like me, you probably spent money on books from the bookstore that were super expensive, and you may have never even opened them, even though the professor said that you need to read those books. Well, I regret not doing everything that my professors always told me to do, but I wish I did. And I did really well on my ACT, let me just tell you, but when you are taking the ACT, you're not in the reading section. You don't necessarily have to read that entire section. You can read the first paragraph and the last paragraph, and then if you have time, go back to the middle of the story. But if you need to study something that your professor wants you to do, but you just cannot make yourself read the entire chapter, at least when there are different sections of each chapter, you need to read at least the first paragraph and at least the last paragraph, and then take notes on what you read so that way you won't forget. Now, I'm not saying not to read the whole thing. I'm just saying if you're like me and you can't make yourself read the whole paragraph, promise me you will read the first paragraph and the last paragraph, because you'll at least get a gist of what it's talking about. Now, if you're doing like more of a business book, you might need to read more in the middle, but if you're doing more of like an English or literature class and you need to get a quick overview before your quiz, read the first and last paragraph and then go back and skim the middle, so that way you'll get at least some of the context of what it's about. And also, like I said, to write down. So while you're reading, and I really do advise you to read the whole thing of what they say to read, take notes on what you're reading. That way you won't ever have to go back into the book and open it again. So read a chapter, then take notes on what you read, and then go on to the next, if that makes sense. Next up, I have number 4 for you guys is the day that you get the syllabus, you need to go into your planner and you need to write down every day that every assignment is due. And I know that sounds dumb, but not only that, I need you to also mark in your calendars at least 2 weeks before that assignment is due, or at least 2 weeks before that exam, that test, that quiz that you know about in advance. That way, 2 weeks in advance, you need to start studying for it like it is that week. And I don't advise in college at all. I know you can do this in high school and get away with it, but at least the classes I took, I would always start studying like 3 or 4 days ahead, and that was not smart, okay? You need to start studying, so if you start 2 weeks in advance, and like I said, just read like a paragraph a day, a paragraph, just to kind of get it in your brain what you're going to learn, and then start really cramming the week of. That way the week leading up to cram week, you'll at least have that absorption in your brain, you know, going and flowing, so that way you'll know a little bit about what you're about to really study. So what I advise is 2 weeks ahead of time, start preparing. So that might be when you type up your study guide. And then a week before is when you need to write out your study guide and really, you know, do flashcards and highlight everything and, you know, just really study hard. So I think studying 2 weeks in advance and writing down all the dates in a planner. So get yourself a planner, use Google Calendar. That really helps too. Set reminders and start 2 weeks early. I think that is a perfect amount of time. And also, if you're kind of staying with it, like if you're reading a little bit each week and reviewing a little bit each week, then that way when it comes exam time, you're not going to have to cram. And you may think, oh, it's just so much work to study every week. Well, if you just even study for 20 minutes a week, when you have an exam a month out, or 6 weeks out, whatever. Some people only have midterms. You will be super thankful when it's a week before midterms. Got it? Last tip is going to be something that I talked about last week, was a big regret of mine, but number 5 is don't be afraid to make friends in class, and don't be afraid to talk to your professors and ask them what you need to know. Now, I wish I would have gone to all of my professors' office hours, and I know a lot of people that actually did this, and they would just flat out go in there and be like, okay, so what would you advise me studying for this exam? And I did that sometimes, but not enough. So some professors will think it's super like admirable that you had the courage to go into their office hours and ask them straight up, like, what do I need to know, what's on this exam, and be kind about it, okay? So they may not answer you, but some professors will. And I think that's a really good way to kind of at least know what you need to study, and then also make a friend. So some people in that class, that might be their second time taking that class, or they may have friends that have taken that class before and may have old exams, old quizzes, old study notes. You never know who you're going to meet in your classes. And I know I talked about last week how I didn't have a lot of friends in my classes, and I really didn't, but I did sit near some people in my classes, and we would kind of become like class study partners. We wouldn't study outside of class together, but we would, you know, kind of help each other out on things that we could. And there were some people that had like old study stuff, and it was, I don't know where they got this stuff from. I didn't know people that could get me help like that, but you never know who you're going to meet in your classes and what they're going to know. So don't be afraid to make friends and ask questions to your professors. So guys, those were our 5 quick tips to help make you better grades this year. Now, good luck to everybody that's in school, whether it's high school or college or whatever you're doing. You can do your best. So to kind of review what we talked about today, number 1, don't be afraid to get help, and I really advise using Solution In. I'm not joking, it's phenomenal. I've checked out their website. I'm not in school anymore, but if I was in school, I would be using this all the time. It is snowing heavy outside. Number 2 is write, type, write, and highlight. Don't forget that. So write your notes in class, type up a study guide, and then write out that study guide. And as you're doing all 3, highlight keywords in different colors, so that way when you are studying, those words will be engraved into your brain. Number 3, if the professor says to read, then you need to read. And if you're not like me, or if you are like me and you don't like to read, then you need to at least read the first and last paragraph and start reading early. Don't wait until the week of to study. Start at least 2 weeks in advance. And that kind of leads into number 4, which is write down the dates for all of your assignments and exams, the day that you get them, and plan out to study at least 2 weeks in advance, okay? I can't be clear enough about that. Do not wait until the week of if you want to be an A student. And again, number 5 is to make a friend in class, and don't be afraid to ask your professor questions, and be bold and be honest. And if you're struggling, you tell that professor that you're struggling and you need some help, and you need to go to Solution In and find some answers, and you need to also ask your professor what kind of answers do you need to be looking for. I'm gonna be making so many more college videos. Let me know what type of college video you want to see down below, and thank you so much Solution In for sponsoring this video. That's so exciting to me. I really do think that if you're into tutoring or you need help, go to this website. It's for you and it's free. That is it for today's video, and I'll see you guys in my next one, and have a great day wherever you are. Bye. Mwah.